Hi class! In this video I just briefly want to talk a little bit about the design process that you're going to go through repeatedly in this class. So I really just want you to kind of get a sense of why we're doing the things that we're doing. For every assignment in your brand identity project, you're going to go through a certain process. You're never just going to sort of sit down and make something all in one sitting. We're going to break the process of making a design into steps. And then we're going to complete those steps one by one. So this is the design process that we're using in this class. This is what's called an iterative design process. And iterative is similar to the word reiterate. Iterate means to say again. Reiterate means to say again. And so an iterative design process is just a process in which we're going to go through the same steps over and over. But what's interesting about this process is the steps are going to produce different outputs. So let me explain. You're going to start here with requirements. So I'm going to give you some requirements of the design, and then you're going to create alternatives. So everything you do in this class, you're going to make multiple versions of, starting with the mood board that you're going to look at this week. Sometimes students ask me why they have to make 2 mood boards. You need to make 2 because you need to have 2 different alternatives to choose from. If you just put one idea out into the world, it's hard to get a sense of its appropriateness. If you put out multiple ideas, then you can get feedback on the different ideas, and you might find that the best idea is actually a combination of those different ideas. So you're going to create multiple versions of the things you make in this class. Then you're going to create a prototype. So you're going to make an example of your ideas. Then you're going to evaluate those ideas. Now, I really wish we had time in this class to do some user testing where you would be able to take your logo and your newsletter and put them in front of people and see what they do with them and see if they can understand what you've designed. But we really just don't have the time. We have a lot to do, and you have a research class where you're going to look at that a little bit more. So you're going to go around the circle over and over. So how does that look? Let's use the logo as an example. You're going to gather the requirements. So if you're creating a brand identity, you want to know who's the audience, who's going to be looking at this logo. You want to figure out the features you need in the logo. Do you need a certain symbol? Do you need a logo that can be printed very large? Do you need a logo that can be printed very small? You're going to sort of define the constraints here. So a lot of times in this class, I'm going to give you the requirements. I'm just going to tell you, you need to make something that is 2 pages, that is front and back, and I'm going to give you the requirements. But when you're designing on your own, you have to figure those requirements out yourself. And researching users is a big part of that. Again, I'm going to tell you information about the users. In this major, you have a research class where you're going to learn a lot more about understanding your audience. Then you're going to create alternatives, so different ways of achieving your goals and using the requirements. So for the logo, you're going to create, oh my gosh, I think it's like 30 or 40 different logo alternatives. And you're going to prototype those by making them real. You're actually going to build them in Illustrator. Then you're going to test that idea. And in this class, we're going to have workshops where you test the idea with other classmates. So your classmates are going to look at it and they're going to evaluate it for you and tell you what they think is likely to be successful. And you're going to keep doing that. So after you have your workshop with your classmates and they evaluate the logo, you're going to go back and sort of look at the requirements, see what you learned from the evaluation and what the requirements are, and figure out if you need to make any changes. And then you're going to make changes. And then you're going to make those changes real in your Illustrator file, and then you're going to show it to people again and get more feedback. And the idea is that every time you go around this design process circle, you're learning more and more about what you made, and it's getting better and better. So I always tell students in this class, when you sit down to make something, just make it. Do the best that you can, but if you look at the logo the first time you sketch logos and you think, I don't think any of these sketches are good, that's okay. Show them to people. Have other people evaluate the logos. Talk to those people and try to understand what's not good about them and what you could do better. And then make new alternatives and prototypes and test those. The more times you go around the circle, the better your design is going to get. A lot of people who are new to design don't realize just how many times you're going to redesign something. And I know that in J103, sometimes you only have a couple weeks for an assignment, and so you design it, you get a little bit of feedback in class, and you design it again. But sometimes designs can take 5, 6, 10 different loops around this design process before it's where it needs to be. When you see advertisements in a magazine, for example, I can guarantee you the designer didn't sit down and make that advertisement just one time. They made it, they showed it to people, they got feedback, they made it again, they showed it to people, they got feedback, they made it again, until the results of the evaluation came back, you know, thumbs up, it looks great, this is exactly what it should be. So in this class, we're going to go around the circle multiple times for every assignment, and that means that you don't need to worry about making the perfect logo the first time. Now, you should try to make a good logo, but make as many alternatives as you can. The longer you make alternatives, the better your logo will get, and the more times you ask for feedback and make changes, the better your logo will get. You might also conceptualize this design process as sort of a wave. And this is an idea that I have blatantly stolen from a designer who made a poster that looks like this, where you're going to sort of feel like everything's very broad in the beginning. You have a concept of your logo. You know that your logo, for example, needs to have a boat and you want to use a sans serif typeface, but you just kind of have a concept. And then you're going to start drawing it out to see what the boat should look like, what the typeface should look like. Maybe drawing the boat gives you a different idea, and now you want to draw waves instead of a boat. Then you're going to put your design into a digital format, and the more you work on the design, the more specific it gets. So the concept is going to be really broad. The concept for your logo might be something like it needs to look very modern, techie, work from home. You know, that's a concept. How do you make that real? Well, you narrow down the concept by putting it into drawings. Then you pick the best drawings, narrow it down into a digital format. So you're going to feel a little lost at first. When you sit down to make your logo, you're going to have a general concept of what it should be. It should look strong, feminist, and supportive. Well, you're going to have to turn that into a drawing, then a digital design. And that's okay if you feel very broad in the beginning, because you're going to get more specific the more times you go around the iterative process, the more times you draw alternatives and get feedback.